Guys, I just got a tell from a Nigerian prince. He needed 50 platinum, and he says he can bring all his gear from another server. He's going to pay me back tenfold. That's 500 platinum. Can you believe it?
Nope.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I did pretty good.
Hey Rick, there's a bridge in AVP I want to sell you.
I'll have 500 plat soon.
Yeah,
Great.
when
I'll
you
buy
have
it.
3 days later.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Update. I haven't heard from the prince recently, but I mean, I'm hopeful. Right? Right? He's gonna get back to me.
We're gonna have to talk about this.
yeah, we're gonna have to have a. We may
Well,
have to
I mean,
make
it
a-
was guild money anyway, so it's not like it was my own money.
What? You spent the money. That money it's our money, not your money to spend on your crazy.
Welcome to Podtheon. I'm your host, Reek. Joining me today is Eddie G and Lynx, and a special guest, Kensu, otherwise known as Thunked. Welcome.
Hello.
Woo!
What's up?
How's it doing, man? How's it going?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you on the show.
Yeah.
Been
Yeah.
itching to come on and see you guys.
Yeah, man. For our audience, Kensu is a paladin and part-time druid every now and again. And he has come here today to help us talk a little bit about classes in general, exciting stuff. We're all going to kind of go through some class stuff and how we think that they work in a solo environment, how they work in a group, how you can get the best out of it. And that's pretty much what we're going to be doing today. Kensu, anything new with you? Anything you want to tell us?
Not much. I've just been doing some harvesting, getting ready for. I think they're probably going to do a drop for like new recipes and whatnot. So I've been doing a lot of harvesting. Yeah. So.
Crafting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm the crafting guy.
yeah. We all know how much Lynx loves the crafting. Is that
I
not?
love that you guys do crafting. That's what I love.
Them guys.
So
Them
big
guys,
shout out
right?
to these guys.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
make all your stuff, and while you feed
Thank
us
you.
abilities and gear.
Thank you, thank you.
I ran into Kensu last night. He was in Hangor in the Slaver Caves, and he claimed that area was his cave as he was gathering up all
Oh,
the
yeah.
scroll. Yeah.
But I
Oh.
was willing to share it with you guys, Eddie.
Yes, he was. To be
Yes,
fair,
yes.
yes, he's very giving, just like Rake is with the Nigerian prince.
I still maintain that was a good decision.
All right.
So let's
I'll move on.
We'll circle back. We'll circle back.
Yeah.
exactly. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up on the list.
Oh, wow, look at that picture. First of all, I don't think I've ever looked that serious in my life. Okay. Wow. I love the elven ears.
Yes.
I love that blue tipped arrow there.
Look at the detail.
Oh, I didn't even notice the ears. Those are cute.
Yes.
Did you capture the little
yes.
goatee?
Yes, very good. And my Dukes of Hazzard. I don't know how you come up with this stuff, Paladin, but this is fantastic.
Too
Well
good.
done. Well done.
Well done. Even the glasses.
Big fan.
Yeah. So, does that mean I have to talk about the Ranger? I guess
We
so.
have to talk about the Ranger.
Okay.
So
Well-
versatility. What do we got for that? How do you think that the Ranger is in terms of the broadness of what it can do? How high is the ceiling on the skill of the class? You know,
Okay.
how active can you be, as Lynx would call it?
You can be very active right off the bat with engage and disengage or withdraw, and you're jumping back and forth right off the bat, which I've talked to some people and they find it a little disconcerting after, several hours of gameplay, but I enjoy it. You are jumping around like a jumping bean and you're having all kinds of fun right off the bat. This class is all about fun. Now, I know a lot of people, the casters, they'll come down you and they'll say, oh, you're pew-pew, you're a ranger. What?
Yeah.
It's a mindless class. Well, I wouldn't say it's mindless. It's somewhat relaxing for me, who's usually played a tank, that I actually can heal myself in between the fights, which is a great advantage. I think that the ceiling for this as a pure damage class is sky's the limit. That's
Really?
why I started it.
Hmm.
I wanted a ranged class that could attack some of this higher level content they've thrown our ways.
Yep.
But right from the beginning, I like the kind of mixed bag you get. You get your range attacks and you get your melee attacks. The melee attacks run off strength. The range attacks run off dex.
Okay.
I haven't tried a two-hander yet, but apparently the two-hander is the way to go. Right now, I'm a little bit twinked out. I have a Blade of Carnage and Fell Spike that I'm using, so can't complain.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
Oh, you're fancy.
I'm a fancy man. Look at that picture. That looks like a fancy.
That's a fancy boy.
Yeah, that's a fancy boy. Looks very pensive though. I don't understand. But anyway,
He's focused.
that's crits.
right. And I like the fact, which I loved in the rogues, was the poison and bleeds. You're able to do that. You can't do poisons. You can do bleeds,
Oh.
which I like in combo with the rogue. That you could, if the rogue is poison based, you can lay bleeds and get that kind of combo going and get those, damage over times going. This is really cool, which I just found out. In the tracking, you can track mobs and your own group members and players and NPCs. Now, when I start to fool around with the tracking, I found out that you could actually take group class, a mob's classification and narrow it down to that. What I mean by that, like say for
Really?
instance, the Forlorn Memory, right? He's considered a incorporeal, if I'm saying that right. Is that incorporeal a mob, like kind of like a ghostly thing?
Yeah.
Mhm.
They have some classifications that I have never. Maybe you guys can help me out. A monstrosity. I have no idea what a monstrosity is.
No.
I have no idea that apparently there's a mechanical class. I can't think of any mobs that we run are mechanical.
Oh, maybe they're not in the game yet.
Right. So that's got some interesting things. And I haven't had to track too much. I'm usually lost by myself. So I wish I could track myself in the world, but I guess you could do that if you wanted. But anyway, so it's got that component. Like I said, being able to heal is a good thing. But as Rake asked me, what? Go ahead.
It does sound on brand for you being lost to track yourself to find your way to get unlost.
Yeah,
That's definitely
It is on
Eddie
brand,
on
yeah.
brand.
true. Although the rogue did let me sneak around while I was lost and not get killed, you're right though. That is on brand. There's a lot of good features to this class. I like like I told you, you also with the bleeds, you can use it both ranged and in close. The fractal arrow will shoot a bleed, and when you use sabotage in close, you'll be able to do that. This is also a very self-sustaining class. You can forage your own food. You can make your own traps when you forage and use the forage feature. I will say the only drawback to this class is that indoors, inside of tightly woven dungeons, it's a little bit hairy because this class definitely is OP outdoors, which I guess is like the typical Ranger
Makes
story.
sense.
Everybody thinks of Aragorn and from Lord of the Rings and such, that outdoors with the tracking and all the other stuff. So
I got two questions for you.
sure.
Do you have a lot of abilities that are positional, where you need to be flanking or behind the enemy, or you get
Yes.
any bonuses because of that?
Yes, you will be able to. There are some shots. I think it's the swift shot that you will get more damage when you are flanking, but
Very
not a lot. Also, the furious volley is really I use it all the time, but it's really meant to use when the mob is down to probably like 20%, left with 20% health or so. Better at the end of a fight, but I continuously pew the entire time, and that's what I like. because especially with ash breathers, it's so hard to get in close. As you know, Lynx, it is hard to take that damage from these guys with these crazy fire AoEs.
Oh yes.
So,
I, for one, am looking forward to Eddie getting his ranger into ABE so I can watch him yeet himself off into the lava pool.
Yeah. We all know that's going to happen.
no, I'm definitely going to jump back right into a hot pool of lava. You know that's happening.
So speaking of the Enclave, rewinding back out of the Enclave a little bit, how would you rank the Ranger in terms of solo power? Is it a good solo class?
Ooh.
It's awesome. I mean, what? I get to shoot things. I get to heal up. I can tank things. I mean, whether I'm in close and I'm able to solo anything that's dark blue.
What about your downtime when you're soloing? Is it mana intensive? Do you have different resources that you rely on that forces you to wait it out? Cooldowns? Do you have long cooldowns?
Well, no, not really. The only thing that's on a cooldown is the fractal arrow. And as far as the healing goes, at this point, I'm level 32
Wow.
or 33. My heals are like 55 a pop.
Okay.
And so, 4 or 5 heals after a fight, I'm back and ready to fight.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a great solo class.
So you said dark blue. Is that Chevron mobs or solo mobs?
Solo mobs. I cannot do a Chevron yet, but I could again if I went the Lynx way and had my snare traps and my hamstring trap. Snare traps root the mob for 60 seconds. Hamstring will reduce the mob speed by 20%. So if I really worked it, I could do it. But I'm so happy just going bam, 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 and everybody wants high damage in a party. So even if I'm not soloing, it's easy to find a party.
So would you say that it shines more in the group environment then, or the solo?
I think it shines in the group.
Yeah.
Because once you don't have any aggro on you and you don't have something face to face chasing you or whatever, this is the class, because you can just sit there and shoot and do high damage. This is what this class is all about. The only drawback I would say is that, and I'm sure Lynx goes through with this as well, is that sometimes the group won't prepare for a fight. They just go into the fight. It's the same thing over and over. A lot of times I'm like, I wish I would had a time to set a trap or something to go to do before the fight starts. That's not used in a group setting as much as in a solo setting where you're going to set traps. But, overall, you can level solo and it's great in groups. It excels in group play.
What is the difference between the traps that the rogue has and that the ranger has? Is there a difference?
Well, we definitely have. I mean, Lynx, you could tell them about the rogue traps. I just told you that the snare traps are a root, and I think we do have like a root type of trap. The rogue as well, because I play the rogue also.
There's one difference though. You, as a ranger, you need actual materials, right? You forage things and
exactly.
you craft them, or they just consume it.
Good point. The in the forage feature, when you forage stuff that you can make all these utility stuff. But yes, you have to forage the trap parts in order to make a trap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. And there's just a lot of other things, a lot of good utility things. We have a thing called flare, where we can kind of shoot an arrow into the ground and brighten the area up. So it's got a lot of, it's got a lot.
Monsters and Memories, jeez.
Yeah. Because
the archer class has a similar ability, but you actually hit the monster and he lights up. But
what? Okay.
That's cool.
So Eddie, how difficult would you say that the ranger is overall? Is it a difficult class?
What's the scale? Is it 1 to 10? Is it
is it a high difficulty, low, medium? Like in terms of the other classes in the game?
I think I have to go with low difficulty, because it's a kind of class, as you go on, you could start off just using 4 things and level. You don't have to hit a lot of different buttons and get into the intricacies of the class in order to level. So I would say it's very easy. But as you go on, you will learn more and be able to develop your character to be kind of semi-complex. But as far as playability, I'm giving this, this is a very easy class.
Yeah.
But to play it at a high level, it's not so easy. That's how I would sum it up.
Okay.
So it has a high ceiling. It's accessible for a newer player, but it also has that depth that a expert player like Lynx could really dive into and tear apart and get into that really high skill ceiling type of thing.
Exactly. And talking to Lynx off air, he has talked about making a ranger, and he better not, because I already been shown up in one class. I don't understand.
Well, he is the designated alt guy. We can't keep him off of alts.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Lies. Deceit.
So
I got one question, really, really quick. Sorry.
What you got?
When you play the class, did you find the learning curve to be difficult or simple or easy to adjust to after having rogue experience? Did it help you, or was it like did you have to relearn your playstyle?
Well, they're so vastly different. I mean,
the
rogue is very hard. I mean, I found it very hard to solo with the rogue. I just didn't have the skill level really to solo, and in this I find it very hard to solo. So I don't think the learning curve. It was almost like, and I'm not talking down about the rogue, but it was much easier to play.
Cool.
The ranger, and I've never played a ranger before. So, and I know it gets a bad rap because it maybe is at the beginning very easy and kind of like mindless. But sometimes a guy like me, I like mindless. I'm here for the social aspect, getting lost, whatever have you. And,
Tracking yourself. Yes.
Right. I could track myself. Now this is, so.
But you like power too.
I love power. And this is, if you're geared properly, this is, I think, now I don't know the, magic classes all that well, but I would put my damage against any of theirs, against theirs any day of the week. I mean, just the overall, just the combat. You're in constant combat. There is no, and as a matter of fact, momentum is a big thing. Momentum is a feature that it's used in the Ranger. You must keep that momentum going in order to get your skill points at a certain level to get off your abilities. So it's all about that.
If anybody sees this and disagrees with Eddie on this assessment, make sure you comment below. Let him know how wrong he thinks he is.
Yes. Yes. Send me a personal email and we'll go toe to toe.
Ooh.
So, up next, we have the ever popular and highly awaited Paladin, who, oh boy, look at the picture we have for that. Why is the sword the size of your head?
Wow.
Wow.
I think it captures you.
It does. It does.
The cap even matches. That's great.
I like your
Oh, yeah,
choice
look
of
at
wearing
that.
a cap instead of a helm. I
Yeah.
like it. A little more casual.
I like
That's a
it.
+3
Yeah.
cap.
That's a
It keeps the sun. It keeps the sun out of his eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
from
two-way
visor
cap.
to having a visor. Same thing.
The whole
Anyway.
cap.
So, Kensu, or Thunk, should I say, which is the proper name.
Mhm.
What do you think about Paladins? Is there good versatility on them?
Versatility, yeah, I would definitely say that they're versatile. It really comes down to how you choose to gear it or how much backup gear that you have. Because if you stack something like Wisdom, you have much better heals. You have a strong single target heal that has a cast time, and then you have a really, really strong group heal that has its instant cast. Heals everybody in the group, and it heals about on par with the single target heal. But it does scale off of Wisdom, and I think that one ability is like one of the most important things as far as Paladins go. But back to the versatility, let's say if you scale towards stamina, you can have a much tankier build. You can probably get up to like 2,500 hit points, give or take, with fully buffed. Maybe a little more, depending upon level, of course. You can scale dexterity, which makes your damage kind of go up through the roof. Also helps your procs, because one of the most common weapons that you see paladins running around with is the war gavel.
Yep.
It also, I think, hang on one second. Let me pull something up here. Aegis also scales off of wisdom. I forgot to mention that on wisdom. That's why I choose to scale my paladin through wisdom, because it affects both the heals and the damage from Aegis. And Aegis is your main damage dealer. And I know a lot of people shy away from it when you have an enchanter, but it's got a very small radius that you can finagle it, like just kind of position your body, because you have to position for cross strike anyway, because it's a frontal 180 degrees.
Right.
That's also scaling off of dex, I believe. Let me double check.
And you never break my mez with that ability, ever. I've never seen it happen.
I would say it happens less than most people. It depends on what I'm doing in the background. Yes. Let me pull up one more thing here. Strength is supposedly supposed to be affecting tanking abilities, but I haven't seen much scaling with that at all. Like, I heard Joppa say something along those lines. I forgot the exact source. It was either a podcast or a post that he did. If strength is scaling now, it's such a minor amount that you can barely even tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Constitution, everybody just needs, because they switch that to be your hit rating. But yeah, you can fill main tank, off tank, support heals, like a secondary healer, and you can also DPS. It's not going to be on the par of like a ranger or something,
Right.
but it's you can fill for DPS, because like you can set up your what's that one ability called? It starts with V. Hang on one second. It is Vigilance. So Vigilance, what it does, it says it creates a bond with celestial light with a target for 10 minutes, causing certain abilities to restore health. When they say certain abilities, they're only talking about one, and that is the main ability that the paladins use to sustain themselves is Faithful Strike.
Faithful Strike, right?
Yes, and that heals off of wisdom, or that the scales off of wisdom. So if I am the backup tank, we play with Ank a lot.
Yep.
So I can throw that on him, and then when I'm just passively healing him through my Faithful Strikes.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, and it just smooths out his damage.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dimensions here, really, with Paladin that I think a lot of people don't really see, where it's not just tank like it was in EverQuest.
Yes.
No,
100% agree.
So can the Paladins solo really anymore? I know at one point they could.
Yeah, we were making jokes earlier that Eddie's group was in the cave leading down to Wyvern, the Slaver's Cave.
Yep.
That's my current stomping ground for when I'm soloing, because I just like it because it's kind of chill. I can just go in there and just pull one mob at a time and then kill. And I literally just do from the entrance down to Wyvern over to the other entrance, you know, and just do circuits. And
you can't solo the Wyvern though.
To be fair, I haven't tried.
You never know.
Well, maybe when I hit 50, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Is the Paladin weak against any mob types in specific? Are they strong against melee physical? Do they excel against magic types? Are they kind of in between?
So that's one of the reasons why I like them, because so like if you look at Dire Lords, they're specifically strong against anything that they can steal resistances from and then use those resistances against. So like they excel in ABE content because they can just get their resist through the roof. I have a whole bag of resist gear. So what I try to do to not mitigate specific types of damage, but when it goes out in AE. So like the whirlwind off of the Pyre Souls, right? Is that correct? Yep. The Pyre Souls, it ticks 3 times. So I wait until that first tick goes off. I hit an AE heal based on how many people are getting hit. If it's like 2 people, I might just do the self heals. But I just wait for it to go off, heal, go off, heal, go off, heal, and then, you know, prep for the next one. Like try and build up more wrath, because my healing is based off of wrath.
The wrath is the resource that you use to spend abilities.
Yes, I should touch on that. There's the main resource that you use when you're a paladin is wrath. You can have up to 2,000 wrath. There's multiple ways of generating it. And
Okay.
the backup resource is called Reckoning. You have 3 points of Reckoning, and they take forever to regen. Really, the main way that you get them back is by using Venger's Vow. You don't get this ability until level 26, which I think is a little bit high for something that is such a critical ability, because it gives you back a Reckoning point every minute. Because otherwise you're regenerating so it's not a linear regeneration for the Reckoning points. The first point takes 1 minute to regen. The second point takes 3 minutes to regen, and then the last point takes 7 minutes to regen. So, like, if you have this ability, the Avenger's Vow, once you get to, I think it's the one that you get at 26. So I think it's like rank 3 or 4. Let me double check. It's rank 3.
This class sounds like the definition of versatile. It seems like it can cover almost all grounds.
Yeah.
You're almost the jack of all. You're almost like the bard right now that we would love to have.
That's actually a really interesting comparison. Like, if we could mez something somehow, like a root or whatever, we'd be very close to what a bard can do. Because like, off tanking is about it,
Yeah.
Thunk, the turnabout is fair play. Can you kill Chevron mobs as the Paladin sits right now?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I prefer to solo on. There's literally zero downtime for a Paladin. There's a running joke between me and a friend. We call it Paladin medding. That's when we pull a Chevron mob that's dark blue or lower, and you just use that to generate wrath off of, and then you just drain and give your hit points back. It's Paladin medding. But you're not stopping.
You're just killing one mob that's weak.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So this kind of all ties in with the whole group ability things. And, you mentioned the group heals, you mentioned the off-tanking abilities. So how hard is a Paladin to play? Is it a difficult class to play?
I think it's as difficult as you want it to be. When I mentioned vigilance, like if you're not the main tank, if you're assisting another tank using vigilance and using the heal, it's very easy to forget that you have that buff on him. So you have to be able to click off of him, cast vigilance again, which removes it from him, or click off the buff from yourself. I can do it faster through keyboards just by clearing my target and clicking off.
Yeah.
And then casting the ability again. It doesn't cost any resources, but it does have like a 5-second cooldown on it. Let me pull up.
I think a lot of these Paladin abilities, though, in terms of difficulty and sealing and stuff, have a standard like rotation where you could just kind of do a 1, 2, 3. But you really wanted to get at the grid of it, the way many classes are at least. You could get pretty high. Because Paladins can pull with the whole yoink ability and everything.
Set rotation. So I guess in groups there's probably like a standard rotation that I use. I try to open up with Aegis, which is the AE, because I'm stacking wisdom like crazy. So when I get the Aegis down, stuff tends to stick to me like glue. It is a dot. They kind of finagled it. It's not consecration like World of Warcraft, where if the mob is standing in the fire, they're going to be taking damage. When you hit the Aegis button, it throws a debuff on the mob like a dot, and it doesn't matter where the mob goes after that. So it wreaks havoc on Enchanter mezzes. And that's probably more often than not when, like, on pull, like I'm hitting it trying to keep it off of like one of the healers or something like that, and you're like, oh, it's dotted, and I'm like, well, I'm trying to keep it on me. Sorry, what were we talking about? The skill ceiling. Yes. So back to like when you're using something like vigilance, it's very easy to kill yourself because, like, let's say the main tank that you're assisting heal, let's say he goes down, and like you still have that vigilance buff up that doesn't really do anything, Yeah. And all of a sudden, like, you're healing nothing, and it's just like, oh crap. So then you have to like click that off and heal yourself. There's little nuances below.
So is it a powerful class? I think that's kind of the
I'd say so.
Yeah.
Especially with the current gearing that they have in Ashbreather's Enclave. There's some pretty crazy plate pieces that you can pull out of that dungeon. And I think that really helps keep the Paladin on top of the pile.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say at least from an outside perspective, the Paladins are pretty strong solo. They're
Mhm.
pretty strong in the groups, and they're pretty strong just all around. Even if you want to just do something like gather, they're not afraid of like higher powered mobs. They can do a lot of stuff. It's a really good class all around.
It's a big jump from the pre-buff Enchanter that I was playing over on Black Moon,
Yeah,
where it's like that thing's light blue. It's a solo mob. I think I'm just gonna go over here where it's
yeah,
safer.
yeah. No kidding. No kidding. So that brings us to our third class, Lynx's favorite, none other than
Oh,
the beautiful face of the rogue.
we should make every rogue in our guild watch this part.
Yep. Every
You
rogue who
shall
ever
now
played
be
Pantheon
known as
can see this face.
Darth Lynx.
That's
Yeah.
my face through every session. That's
This is picture
that's
cracks
my
me up.
focus face.
You're all
It is.
hunched over. You're skulking. You look like you're gonna do something evil, and you look like you're like Kensu said, like Doug said, you look like you're from Star Wars. Come on, there. You got lightsabers.
I love those lightsabers, man.
Yeah.
I want to play
Very
that
cool.
class now.
I'm just role playing, man.
So
Okay.
enough teasing Lynx about his constipation face.
Bring it on.
How good and how versatile is the rogue?
Rogues. Oh my god, where do I even start? I'll start from the beginning. They're not very versatile in the beginning because you have a limited play style. There's only so
Bless you.
many things you can do
Thank you.
early on. But as you progressively level and unlock new abilities and access to different weapon types and different skills and combinations, they can actually solo really well. They can group really well.
Mhm.
They just need time to cook. You really need time to cook. You're very weapon and gear dependent early on because you don't have a lot of defensive options. You don't have a lot of health, and it's very challenging. You don't have a lot of interrupts at low level to deal with casting mobs or mobs that heal, so that slows the fight down. And there's a lot of downtime, even if you are able to solo.
What
Right.
causes the downtime?
The downtime is sitting and healing yourself. Yeah, you don't get any sort of personal healing until your late 20s, and it's an elixir, and it's a reactive elixir that you apply called Toxic Elixir. It's got a
Yeah.
1 minute cooldown, so that's another delay
Is
between
that the
mobs.
explodey chest one?
That's the other one. There's two options you apply to yourself, and when you're hit, whichever one you have on you, which is the explosive or the toxic, the results are different. One's just
Yeah.
damage delivered, and you take a bit of damage. The other one's the elixir that applies a poison that hurts the mob over time, which can also screw with your CC if you need time to separate yourself from the mob because you need to run away or reset the fight or buy a few seconds for your cooldowns to reset, to continue your rotation, to soul, to bleed, to poison. You don't always want to have the mob poisoned or bleeding because it could really screw with you. But that's the only way you're going to get the healing factor from that one elixir.
Right.
And
So
you
is there
don't get
more
it
of a,
much
does
later
the
on.
rogue have a wide variety of tools though, or is it kind of more centric and like focused on something?
They have so many options, whether it's through traps, through poisons applied to your weapons, via proccing, whether it's gear, you can mix up your gear a little bit. You can even use your bow attacks. Even though you have no bow skills, if you time it right, a little pro tip, your ranged melee attacks from your bow do not share the same cooldown as your weapons, your melee weapons. So if you're really active, you can step in, auto attack, use your abilities. When they're on cooldown, you can always step out in between the cooldown of your auto attacks of your melee weapons, sneak in a bow shot, sprint in time for your melee weapon cooldowns to reset, and your auto attacks will land. And you can sprint out, land a bow shot, sprint in. It's almost like I want to be a ranger.
I was gonna say it sounds like you want to play a ranger with this jumping
Uh-oh.
back and forth thing.
No,
Uh-oh,
I
Eddie.
want to be a rogue that's versatile.
Yeah, he wants to get the maximum out of his rogue. Yeah, but listen, now I like the bow attacks too, and sometimes they do apply poisons, don't they? It's weird. I feel like sometimes the poison will go off on your range attack, and sometimes it won't. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Okay, I'm going to admit, I don't know if this is a bug or not, or if it's a feature, but
I'm outing you. What's going on?
even my bow shots can trigger my weapon
Uh-oh.
proc buff poisons.
Yeah, I noticed.
You might want to look into it, but if not, hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Uh-oh,
Yeah.
outing himself for the band hammer.
It's only the procs from the poisons I apply to my weapons, and those are
Right.
instant direct damage, and it's it
Oh,
helps, but it's not
so
the
it's
end of the world.
not something that you're. Can you apply a poison to your bow as well,
No,
or does it have to be a
no,
certain type
No.
of weapon?
We
Okay.
should be able to. When I say we,
Well, that would be
I'm
interesting.
not part of
though,
that guild anymore, the Rogue Guild.
to
But
tip,
we should
to
be
tip your
able to.
bow,
Yeah, exactly.
your arrows.
Come on, poison. They've been in stories for hundreds of years. Poison.
Okay. So
Yeah,
maybe it is.
having like a poison tipped arrow, like
Maybe it's a
sounds
feature you were
reasonable.
meant to discover, and it's just
Maybe it's a blue arrow.
maybe blue arrow. Could be a blue dagger. Could be a green
Could
dagger.
be a
be a blue
Viagra tipped arrow.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
So yeah, I would say
I
that
am. I'm an older gentleman, so maybe.
That
Anyway,
is hard and tipped.
it's a tip about tips.
okay. All right, let's move.
So anyway, is it a good
Ultimately-
solo class?
It's a solo class with challenges because you have abilities that require you to be positioned. You get things that require you to be either flanked or directly behind the mob. And once you've engaged a mob solo, you don't always have the freedom to circle around because the AI is pretty smart.
Yeah.
It'll pivot with you. Then you're going to be forced to consume a stun. I'm really reluctant to use all my stuns because I use them as a way to reset the fight or to distance myself because I prefer to bleed my opponents, kite them, let them tick,
Yep.
step in with a stun, reset the bleeds and poisons, disengage myself. That's how I deal with solo mobs, whether it's individual mobs or group chevron mobs.
Yep.
It's not
So-
that easy though.
So it's not that bad of a soloer, but it's probably not an ideal soloer. It's probably, you would say it's stronger in group environment, though?
I would say if you're not doing solo, at least try to duo at the
Yeah.
minimum. With anyone that can give you any sort of healing, or another class that's a fellow bleeder, kiter, daughter, not daughter, but a class that can apply dots, whether it's Necro or maybe even Enchanter or even a fellow rogue. You guys could just mix and match. You can just
Yeah.
play tennis off each other, aggro tennis. A Ranger, Eddie. We can probably do a lot of fun
Hey!
stuff with the combination of Rogue and Ranger.
That's
Paladin. Paladin's a support tank too. He could always just keep me up. While I
He's
tank.
too busy solo
Right.
and with his other paladin doing everything, killing chevron mobs.
In a full group scenario, this is where they really can excel. They have the option to also CC.
Yep.
We have other stuns. We have traps that can stun. We have traps that can temporary CC by rooting mobs, like we discussed earlier with the Ranger. Similar, but it costs no resources other than the fact that you need your readiness or you need to have it off cooldown. You have your flashbangs. You have also
Your what? I'm sorry.
What? You have a flashbang.
Okay.
It's a flash bomb, but it's essentially the same thing. You hit the mob, it stuns it. It has a small AoE, so you can even interrupt small groups of mobs to buy your group time to reset, or for someone to get a heal or a shield buff on, or
Well, playing with a rogue, like I had a really good rogue in my play group when I was over on Black Moon as well, and I played an Enchanter, and I thought that having a Enchanter rogue combo was one of the best CC teams that you can have in a single group play.
Yeah.
Because the rogue, he stays out of combat, and he can just go sap, 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 and make 3 people just go down, and then the Enchanter can get the long-term mezzes out.
Yep.
And root whatever they got to do if there's something that is iron willed or something along those lines. Now we have access to the pet, so they can even do that. So yeah, I really love rogues as far as like an Enchanter perspective goes. I don't know how Rake feels about it.
I
Yeah.
like them. I
like
love having a rogue around. Because sometimes you get those mobs that are like a spell nullifier or something that you just can't land a mez on quickly, and the rogue can just pop them off, and it buys me 15 seconds or so.
it's all about choices. The rogue's got to decide: do I engage first and help somebody burn a mob down? Because we don't have a lot of options to return to stealth and get out of combat. And our smoke trick, our ability to CC, unfortunately requires us to be out of combat and in stealth. So
Yep.
you got to. It's always a struggle between
Choice.
making choices, and it
Yeah.
could either save the day, it could ruin the day, it could.
It's good to have communication with the Enchanter beforehand. Again, Discord is essential for this kind of play where you have to, where you have to communicate what you're going to do.
Oh yeah,
And it's funny, when this game was first released and I started playing it, nobody knew that the rogue could even CC. It was like a weird thing. They thought it was just a pure damage class.
Yeah.
But then you find out the really good rogues are on top of the CCs. They're not
Yeah.
just they're behind going back and forth.
We complement
Yeah.
the hard CC classes. We can just sort of help control the area for a little bit until you get yourself prepared and things are all settled in, and then the hard CC classes just take over, and a rogue will never replace a true CC like an Enchanter. Never.
Yeah,
It's never
but
going to happen.
You offer that the stun grenade thing that you're talking about, the flashbang. Like I can't think. There's been multiple instances where I'm tanking in ABE, and I'm like, oh, I'm dead. And Lynx goes, okay, I bought you 4 seconds, and I'm like, that's exactly what I needed to hit my heals,
Yep.
top off my wrath, get in there and like try and save the day there. But like the stuns are so critical. Like
They
they're
are.
really, really good.
So again, you got to communicate with your teammates. If everybody coordinates and understands what the rogue's capable of, and you trust in your rogue, and the rogue trusted his ability to react and make the right choice, then you're a crowd favorite for sure. But again, they really do excel in group scenarios. The majority of my time, right now I'm level 47, I always did everything I could, first and primarily, every time I logged in, find a group, post OOC, LFG, cold call people, talk to your guildmates, get on the Discord, communicate that you need a group because you do the best in a group. You really don't want a solo if you can avoid it. So I prefer grouping, and I'm glad they excel in group scenarios.
Yeah. So, would you say the power level on Rogue is pretty high, or was it medium level?
In my eyes, I'd say they're pretty powerful. Again, it's a class that you get a lot out of it if you're willing to put a lot of time and effort into
It's
it.
very nuanced. It's very nuanced. So
Yeah, I feel like I have to mention Lynx is an exceptional player. Like,
Yeah.
he's easily 7, 8, 9, 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. He's an exceptional player. I have grouped with rogues that refuse to CC and stun. They play it like an old school EQ rogue, where they are just DPS. They just stand behind the mob, and just go poke, 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 poke. And it's just like, could you just help the Enchanter just a little bit?
Yeah, I guess that's where I enjoy the class the most. I don't think everyone wants to play this style of class. I don't know if everybody wants to always press all the buttons, as they say. I look forward to those chances. I look forward to opportunities. I look forward to being valuable to my group. Again, grouping. I look forward to being just utilized. I like to be a support class in that sense. I like to be versatile, and that's the difficulty, though. It's what you put in, it's what you get out. It's challenging if you're not into that role. It's challenging if you're looking to always top the charts in DPS, because you're probably not going to if you're doing all the other things, because it takes time.
right.
If you're not DPSing, you should be doing something else. So you're a team player. Difficulty, though, 1 to 5, I'd say it's probably a 3.5.
Okay.
Once you're comfortable, probably like a 3. If you're new to the class, trying to solo, 1 or 2, because you're not doing a lot solo. So you won't
Right.
really be difficult.
So, if you agree with Lynx, comment below and make sure you tell him how either right he is or how wrong he is, because he is a good player, but he can be wrong. He's not infallible.
I am not perfect by any means.
Now,
He's
speaking
so
of
humble. It's ridiculous.
perfect players abound us.
Yes.
For instance, the Enchanter.
Oh, look at you.
I want to pick your brain on this.
Mutton
What?
chaps.
Look at that.
It got the hair part wrong, that's all. Otherwise, I don't see a difference. It's like looking in a mirror.
You look
Yeah,
so
there needs to be a giant hair part right in the front and down the middle.
Yeah,
It may just be an illusion.
Yes.
it
Right.
might be.
Yes.
It could be. It'd be on theme.
I can't wait for this Enchanter rundown. I'm ready to learn about the Enchanter.
I've always wanted to play an Enchanter. I just couldn't do it.
You'd
Maybe
like
you
it.
can convince me. I'm eager to
Really?
hear. Tell us.
You'd like it. I know you, Lynx.
Tell us.
Enchanter. So what to say about the Enchanter, the class that everybody loves to have around and everybody hates to play? I shouldn't say that anymore because everybody likes him today, but versatility. very versatile class. What else could I say? You could do everything from stun to root to mez to nuke to all kinds of different things. You've even got a pet now that you can use as a temporary or even permanent tank, depending on how fast you are with summoning it.
Wow.
The skill ceiling on the Enchanter is very high. You could be the kind of guy that just likes to sit at the camp and do a mez every now and again when the puller comes in. Or you could be the guy that's actually pulling for the camp. You could fill that role entirely as yourself. Some situations are more dangerous to pull in than others, particularly places like Hangor and Ash Breathers, much more difficult than places like Halmirs or Goblin Caves or Orcs even. But it is a very versatile class. All kinds of things are offered. You have lots of debuffs, lots of nukes, lots of buffs that you put onto your group, which aren't really provided from any other class. You know, there's a lot of overlap, as you guys know, between who can buff what. There's HP buffs from clerics and druids, and shamans can buff stamina, but only enchanters can buff mana regeneration. And we do provide a haste as well. At highest levels, it's a group buff that's 25% melee and spell haste together, and stacks with the shaman haste. So really bumps up those rogues and ranger DPSs to a much greater margin. And kind of moving over to solo ability, very, very powerful in solo now because of the pet. You can just kind of pick almost any mob you want. You could pick yellows, you could pick oranges, even if I could probably manage to solo group yellows in some situations. I don't imagine I'll be able to do this forever, but with some careful planning of debuffs and buffs, you could pump out a lot of damage very quickly as an enchanter. I'd go so far as to say you might even be 4th in rank behind wizard, summoner, and ranger for capabilities on damage. It's almost a 1-second cast nuke, and it does hundreds of damage. It's very powerful, no cooldown on it.
How do you feel the scaling is on the int for damage?
It's excellent. It's excellent. 1 point of int gives you a significant, noticeable amount of damage. It scales on not just your direct damage spell, but also your dot and your mana returning nuke as well. And it should be kind of worth mentioning that the mana returning nuke, the Stab the Mind line, allows you to return mana to your defensive target. So if your cleric is low on mana in your group, you can nuke the mob and return some mana to your cleric, allowing him to heal for a little bit more. Most of the time you want to just do it to yourself, or at least I do, because I don't have a direct mana regen like the cleric does, where they could just push a button and get 30% back. But we do have Mana Guzzle, which is a close substitute. You get about 30% of your mana back every 3 minutes from a mob, but it's a channeled ability, takes 10 seconds to go. So while you're soloing, it can lead to some downtime. It can lead to some imperfect encounters and stuff where you'll have to guzzle a mob. But overall, solo is pretty easy, but there is eventually going to be probably a few minute downtime when your cooldowns will be exhausted, when you just don't have a lot of mana left and you don't have a lot of health left. So that's a big deal when you're soloing, is that you can't regenerate health at all in any shape or form. It's just sit down and wait till your health comes back if you took a beating on something.
So you're saying that you're not afraid of light blue mobs that are solo anymore?
Not anymore. Not anymore. They're afraid of me. They run when they see me coming now.
I don't understand.
Used to be when I was afraid of green mobs.
What's the strongest mob type you've encountered? Group? Can you solo any group ones? Green?
Yeah, I could solo group mobs. I could solo like some of the Ash Breathers and stuff like that, the Cinder Wolves and Cinder Folk.
Really?
And stuff like that. Yeah, I could solo those
Wow.
Wow.
The pet's excruciatingly powerful, and if I just spam the direct damage, for base, for me, it does about 425 to 450 damage, 1 second cast over and over. The dot ticks for 200 plus, and the Stab the Mind, I can crit all the way up to 800 plus with that. So I mean, it's
interesting that they would give you a dot as a measure, because wouldn't that conflict with sometimes you want to have a mob mezzed and then
it's not something that you can often keep prepared because of the value of the real estate of spell gems.
Oh, that too.
Yeah, you have a lot of spells as an enchanter and a lot of abilities that you really got to budget and make sure that you've got them going right. I find myself very often, even in combat, just waiting for the mob to die to open my book, unmem something, and change the spell out because it's a cooldown.
Because you're an active enchanter, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the debuffs really that make the Enchanter really shine in the group. Applying things after exposed, like physical or magical opening, is a 15% damage increase. Physical openings 15%
Wow,
to
yes.
rogue and ranger damage together, and that's very noticeable. As soon as that applies, you can see the mob just melt down.
Love
So,
it.
and I don't think it has really much to even be said about group ability. It's probably the most group engineered class in the game.
Oh yeah,
You're the
100%.
definitive crowd controller. You have some of the best buffs in the game. You can stun mobs for the longest period of time. It's exceptional. And one thing I will pro tip here on the Enchanter AE stun is that it isn't currently an unresistible stun. So you could be level 10 and you could stun yourself away from something that's level 30 and just run your butt off and you'll make it.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Get it a jail
very
card.
powerful.
What about the other side of the coin? Say you're in the group setting and somebody breaks your mez. What are
Well,
some
the
of
first
the
thing I
things?
do is I get very irate
Oh,
on Discord. I yell at people a lot.
well, you will call them to the task if they say, "Oh, I was just assisting," and then you'll look down the chat window and it's like, "Oh, Elwood broke the mez with
Auto attack. Elwood.
auto attack."
Yeah, I try not to call people out when I'll just say that the mez got broken. Hey guys, let's just keep careful on this. But
Right.
sometimes, situations go bad and it's really nobody's fault. Like an Iron Will comes in. You can't mez that one. You can pet tank him, but if your pet's already occupied or it died already because it took a lot of AE, I mean, it's not a perfect situation. You can't bail your group out of every situation, but it really the Enchanter is overall that safety blanket.
How do you view the Enchanter as a pulling class?
It's excellent.
Whoa.
It's less so now in the Enclave because they do just such great amounts of damage that really you need the tanks to be able to just take those hits. Because, I mean, even Thunk, who has thousands of hit points, will drop down to 50% on a pull, whereas that would kill me. So it is a great puller, especially in the early days when you're hitting like the Goblin Caves, Wyken, the Orcs. There's no better puller. Monks are a close second, but enchanters are just, you can line them up like a conga line and just keep 3 mobs mezzed for your group and just pick one off, pick one off, pick one
3.
off.
I've seen this man lock down 8 and 9
Yeah,
in
sometimes
the
it's bad.
No,
it-
it's more
in-
than that.
in the trenches. I was witness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was
In
9,
trenches, we
10
had a
maybe.
bad pull. I remember because I pulled it. I think I there's a blind corner that you can't tell how many you're gonna get, and I nuked the mob that I could see. I got 5 mobs,
Yeah.
and somebody was like low level or something like that, and they aggroed another group of like 7 mobs off to the side. Like,
Yeah.
that's not an exaggeration. There were 12 mobs in camp, and this guy right here
Yeah.
locked it all down.
They-
I have
AE
footage.
fun.
You have footage?
I recorded it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we do have footage somewhere.
Better than you think you are.
Hey, sometimes even I get lucky. Even
Oh,
a blind
come on.
squirrel finds a nut.
Oh, please.
I draw
I don't
much of my
You
champion.
guys are way
power
too
with my
humble.
button.
Thank God me and Kensu think highly of ourselves.
Hey, I mean,
Well,
Ken's a great
I'm
tank.
amazing.
Tanks
He's
are,
amazing.
he
Thunk is
tanks really
amazing.
well.
do.
You also are great support. You've supported me
Ah.
when I mess up.
Oh,
Hey,
oh,
we're all
I
blessed
can't wait
here
to
be
see
with
what you
players.
do with your ranger when you're up there in the 40s.
I can't
I'm
wait.
excited
I
to be with you.
I can't wait. I can't.
Right,
Dice Up Imperials, Vale of Azirius. Check us out.
But
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious, Ray, because we're talking about groups. Do you need to still use your tank pet when you already have a group tank? Could you explain scenarios where it would come in
Sometimes,
handy?
yes. We find that in Ash Breathers, the damage is so overwhelming that sometimes the Enchanter pet will just help on healer mana for a short time. It also helps mitigate anything that is Iron Willed. So you can't mez an Iron Willed. If the tank pulls 2 Iron Willed, what are you going to do? Sometimes you can't tank both if it's 2 Pyre Souls, for instance. So pet's a perfect place to just deploy that on.
Can you control what your pet's doing, though? Can you
Yeah,
call it back? And
You could call him back, but the taunt that he issues is not super usable. It's not an activatable ability on my end. Once I summon him, he immediately will taunt and he'll pull it off of anything. It doesn't matter how much threat you have. He will always get it off of you. And then he seems to fire his taunt again at 15 seconds. So it's kind of a judgment kind of thing. You got to judge when you need to send him on something or whatever, or how fast you want to pull. He's got a 30-second duration, but a 30-second cooldown on the spell. So you can keep him up. It's just that he'll disappear as soon as he dies.
Okay, so let's say we're in a scenario where we have a great big pull. You're doing your CCs, you summon your pet, and it's on a mob that's casting something really annoying. And my instinct is to interrupt it. Typically, I would do that with an instant mez, my smoke bomb, for example. That puts it into a state of mez.
Yep.
That doesn't always help you because that will pull your pet off, right?
Correct.
It'll sort of
Yep.
reset it.
It'll reset the pets, and then he will not be able to taunt again for, say, another 10 seconds. So if the mez gets immediately broken, aggro's loose.
So, pro tip for you guys out there: be careful what you want to try to help with because sometimes you're not always going to be helping.
Yep. And don't forget, sometimes Lynx and I have to coordinate together for the stuns because stuns cause rallied now. And you can chain them together. You can daisy chain. I have a 6-second stun as an enchanter. So when I'm getting at that 5-second mark, he'll pop his stun and just piggyback onto it. And it'll extend the stun to, 7, 8, 9 seconds. And then the rally comes up.
So, do you think that really, those changes, do you think that really ups the difficulty of playing the Enchanter?
I think so. I think that the Enchanter is one of the more difficult classes. I mean, a lot of classes are hard. Tanks have a stressful job, healers have a stressful job, and control has a stressful job. It's a difficult class, but it doesn't have to be. If you want to be the guy that makes just the mez, that's just your job, that's fine. Most groups won't have a problem with that. Cast clarity, cast haste, mez a mob if there's an ad, and most of the time a group's going to be perfectly happy with that. But you can be the guy that pulls, you can be the guy that pet tanks and does a real lot of damage on top of it.
So, is it difficult? This role to me
I'd say
sounds
yes.
difficult,
I'd
stressful,
say yes. It would be a
challenging.
difficult class. And the power level, I'd rank it at a high level of power.
Absolutely, especially in a group setting.
Yeah.
It's long term been my belief since EverQuest 1 that there is no single class that is a catalyst for a group that like an Enchanter. Because it's like they can lock down extra mobs, they make medding faster, downtime gets reduced. It's just all-star class in groups, for sure.
And even in Pantheon, it's kind of accelerated even for what EverQuest offered because things like the debuffs for magical defense that reduces the mob's magic defense, makes you land spells at a lower level, increasing the damage done on things that are beyond just the dominating will from magical opening. There's a lot of things that you can weave in and out of your combat to improve all of your group mates. So it's a really high ceiling. It's a lot of difficulty, but it's a hugely fun class and very rewarding. So if you disagree, comment below. And yeah, if anybody has any extra thoughts they'd like to add in on any of their classes, I think now is kind of like the time we should explore that. Thanks. Kensu?
That's
Eddie?
interesting. Let me throw.
I always have something to say.
You always got something to say.
What kind of gear should you be looking for? I mean, I know you're kind of limited to the cloth. What stats should I be heavily into? I know the class is evolved and changing constantly. So Pantheon is still kind of tweaking here and there on all the what. Because I know at one time you were using a whole stamina build just to run around.
Yeah,
I think that was on your Enchanter, right?
it was. Now I go predominantly just intellect, and if I can get charisma where I can. I'm not sure how effective charisma quite is yet outside of making your mez land a little easier on yellow, orange, and red mobs. But mainly it's an intellect and haste based class. You want to be able to cast quickly, you want to be able to hit hard, and you want to have a lot of mana pool. Stamina is also a good tertiary stat to have because you can just take those hits from when mez breaks, from when you're pulling, from when you get hit by some kind of CC yourself. You want those hit points. Hit points aren't a bad idea to have for any class.
What stat influences your accuracy as a caster? Because I'm not familiar with how spells land versus how physical land. Is it still dex?
Well, so it's magical defense as far as the mobs end, but there is a hit rating on casters that I believe is associated with Constitution.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to ask a question to Lynx, if I may.
I'm all ears.
What are you going with currently? Are you going with a poison-based bleed or a blood-based bleed, which the bleeds are a little bit different on the rogue?
Believe it or not, I actually run both.
You're running both. Look
I'm
at you.
I'm doing 6 forms of bleed poison. I apply 2 poisons, and then I apply 3 more physical bleeds, and then if you count my elixir, my 1 form of healing that
Right.
actually has to be triggered, that's a third poison. So in total, it ends up being 6, and that's pretty much how I contribute my DPS between my auto attacks. Because God forbid these changes that were made to how we build readiness, I can no longer just spam my auto attacks and rely on quick attacks to build
Yeah.
up my resources to spam my rotation. I use 5 out of 6 in my opener, and then I am exhausted in readiness, and I have to sit and wait.
This
for-
is the most annoying part for
Oh,
him, that he
so,
actually has to not do anything.
so that's where I would start doing the whole extra by sprinting
Right.
out while waiting for that extra 1,000
Auto attack,
or
yeah,
2,000 readiness to regenerate naturally. All I have is auto attacks and procs. So why not auto attack, dagger, dagger, step out while my dagger's on cooldown, bow shot, hope for a proc off my poison. I hope that stays in the game. Sprint back in for my weapons to be off auto attack, gauge my readiness, keep my poisons, keep my stuff, watch what's going on around me, pay attention if I need to stealth out, get out of combat, drop a trap, mez a mob, pull off a mob, just keep active. So
And my question to Thunk, since the Paladin was OP before I guess the last patch or so, you stuck with it. What was the biggest difference that they did in the Paladin to make him not as OP as he was? Because I'm not familiar with the class. I have no idea why these guys were pulling 6, 7 Chevron mobs at a time and
remember
killing them. I used to follow them around just for experience. So,
Well, it was twofold. So they broke up the stats. So one, you couldn't just stack wisdom and have all the healing and all the DPS that you could possibly want. And they also moved dexterity, the hit rating off of dexterity over to constitution. So I literally had to regear everything except for one slot on my paladin when they nerfed it, and then a week later I had to regear my entire paladin again.
I remember.
Because
Yeah.
and I was a little frustrated, and I can see how a lot of the other paladins would have just given up and quit, and I
Right,
think that
as a lot of them
definitely
did.
happened.
yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunate.
I was fortunate to, like, I had enough resources that I could I could make a second set of jewelry and then make a third set of jewelry. Like
Yeah.
I hoard stuff. So
Yeah.
like I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. And I'm also a crafter. So I was able to recraft like from wisdom gear over to dexterity gear, because that's what the interim was. Like we had to stack dexterity, and then dexterity became absolutely worthless in my opinion.
Yeah.
You can stack it if you're just raw DPSing, but it's really not ideal in my opinion.
I'm glad you
Um,
stuck with it though.
Yeah.
I enjoy the class. I still love the kit. The kit is amazing, and I think
Yeah.
even though the Dire Lords can tank a single target better, I still feel like the Paladin is the superior tank.
Yeah. Well,
because
there's
of
no
their ocean
snap
abilities.
threat on the Dire Lord. That's where
That
the
too.
Paladin really shines on top of him, because you can't get a mob off of me after 6 mezzes as a Dire Lord. It's just he can never do it. It'll never happen.
So I got a question for Rake then.
Uh-oh.
If and when they introduce charm, how much of an impact do you think it'll have on your gameplay style?
Oh my god.
How
I
often
don't
you
know.
choose to group? How often you choose to solo? Do you think you'll even have room for it on your bar? How are you
Hopefully
going to
it's not.
prioritize it?
Oh, I know what's going to happen. I'll interject after your answers.
I'm super
Okay.
curious.
I hope it doesn't completely redefine the whole class. I hope it doesn't end up becoming either the greatest thing that's ever happened, or not. And I also alternatively hope it isn't the worst thing ever, where you're like, what is this? We waited so long and it ends up being this total piece of junk. But what I envision it as being is something where it takes a mob and it's going to scale it down to the power level of something like a necropet. And that's how
Yeah.
I see it happening.
So even if they do that, charm is still going to be an amazingly powerful tool.
Yes, for
It's
crowd control.
Yes, it's in an incredibly difficult ability to balance.
It
And
is.
they have already stated that they're going to have like a regular charm like they had in EQ. And they are also going to have like a dire charm where
Yep.
you can just charm something permanently and not have to worry about it.
Yep. That's the one
So
I see scaling down a little bit. And I also see charm itself. It might be something like a very limited duration, like a 15 to 30-second duration, where it's really
Oh.
just meant to charm something that on a pack of 5 mobs or something. And it's just meant to like save your group for a short term. That's kind of in my head where I'm seeing VR going with it. But it could be different.
you actually just triggered a really interesting thought. What if they had like a 1 hour cooldown? They call it like mash charm, or it can charm up to 5 targets, and just be like, oh crap, we pulled 12 mobs, mash charm, grab those 5 and send them
Hold
over
my
there,
beer.
extract those.
Right, right.
Like,
That'd be great.
how cool of an ability would that be? It'd be like,
That'd be great. That'd be a really fun one.
I just hope they don't neuter something else in your class and add charm. Like, so, you know what I'm saying?
I know.
It doesn't have to be all powerful, but it'll be a nice feature, and they keep the rest of your kit intact right now. Because right now, the Enchanter to me is where it should be. Again,
I agree, but I'm sure they're going to neuter me or hurt me in some way. That's going to happen.
poor Rake. You could catch him on the forums in the old.
it's just the Enchanter way, man. It's just like,
Well-
hurt me, daddy. You know.
Enchanter
Yep.
life.
Yeah. Well, I had that problem. Then I changed to a monk, and then
Right. And
and then what happened to monks?
No, we don't want to talk about that.
We don't talk about monks.
They're
But
still
people playing them
training.
Going back to the earlier point about people quitting a class because it got changed and it's not as powerful.
Yeah.
To me, that's just nonsense, because you kind of like, these characters are a little bit of extension of ourselves. So you get into it, or like in Thunk's case, he likes the kit. You still got the same basic kit. You may have to re-gear and retool, but people who just playing it because it's just, you can run, rampant throughout the world, to me, they're really not, again, real players or lovers of this game. That's my judge and jury on it. But everybody has their choices. You can play or not play, but all of us have stuck with it since day one. We've been here.
Yep. And if you disagree with Eddie's assessment, which is usually generally good words of wisdom, comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hey, maybe you guys could tell us about what classes you play and what challenges you've had leveling your classes.
Yeah.
Are you into alts? Do you prefer solo? Do you prefer groups? Are you worried about being
No. We confirmed alts are not the way to go. Let's not get violent.
Yeah, let's not have an altercation like last episode.
An
Oh no,
altercation-
I'm going to start an altercation right now. Ank, Paladin's the superior tank, man.
Oh
Get
no!
over it, man.
Okay, hold on.
Oh.
I just want to say this. You can't spell altercation without alt.
Oh wow!
an altercation.
And if you guys have any suggestions for a ranger, again, I've never pretended to know it all. I'm more of a social animal than a high skill game player. Let me know how I can play the ranger better. We want to see your comments.
Absolutely. Like and subscribe. Let us know below. Thank you for watching.